www.dearborn or see one of the organizers. One of the cultural sentiments we are accustomed to in Ashura, in the month of Muharram, is to give sweets on behalf of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. For those of you who would like to sponsor a night on behalf of a loved one, please see me or one of the organizers to help with that, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Before we begin with our program, I'd like to welcome our dear brother, Sayyid Ali Rida Makki, to recite some words from the blessed Holy Quran, بعد الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. ثانية على حب الزهراء. اللهم صل على. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباءهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون وسواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون أأتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغن عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على
Thank you, brother, for that beautiful recitation. Can we please give him a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad? Wa ali Muhammad. Before we bring up the esteemed Sheikh Amir Astani, I'd like to give my fellow sisters and brothers a brief introduction of this great human being. Sheikh Amin traveled to the holy city of Qom after high school in 1999 to pursue his Hawza studies in the holy city of Qom. Due to references by scholars in the United States, he was able to get into one of the top schools therein and graduated from the 6-year intro level covering all Islamic disciplines, after which he began the 4-year intermediate level of fiqh and usul al-fiqh studies. Afterwards, he had the opportunity to participate in advanced Kharij fiqh classes. He also holds a master's degree in Semitic religions with a dissertation on the code of canon law through the University of Religions and Denominations of Qom. Sheikh Amin is also a teacher of the Hawza and lectures internationally on various occasions of the Islamic year. In 2017, Dallas was blessed to have him as a scholar there, and I can personally say that he's helped many of us brothers here in Dearborn through his extensive knowledge and his dedication to helping us learn more and more each day. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome my dear brother and mentor, Sheikh Amir Astani, with 3 loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين واللعن الدائم على أعدائهم أجمعين. Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, it's me. Yes, brother, you introduced me and you forgot to even say my height. MashaAllah. I was happy that yesterday we skipped that part, and so today they made sure to let me hear the intro. Yesterday we began this little topic of ours on the some of the things that contributed to the eternity of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Obviously, I said this yesterday as well. When we say eternity, in this life there is no eternity. Eternity is for the other side. But we mean it in a relative way, that 1400 years later, after all these years, it seems that this tragedy is still fresh. And every year when you read the history of it, you feel like maybe it's not going to happen this year, you know? As you read how Imam Hussein alayhi salam is speaking to Umar ibn Sa'ad, they're negotiating. You're like, maybe Umar ibn Sa'ad this year will be convinced to let go of this, what he's pursuing. What I'm trying to say is that it's as if this story is repeating again and again every year. What is this secret? What are the elements that contributed to this? We talked about it a little bit. Number one was, I said that there's going to be 10 reasons I want to mention that I can think of for why this is such an everlasting phenomenon, this Ashura, Karbala, Imam Hussein alayhi salam. The first one was that it was Allah's will. The Imam himself says this in one of his sayings, that Inna Allah sha'a ay yarani qatila. Right now, my responsibility, my duty, is to do this, to not give bay'ah. And we'll talk about this in some other nights. It's an important topic. I said this yesterday as well, that this idea of how did Imam Hussein save Islam, what is the exact thing that he was after, we can talk about it. There's different views on this. But all in all, what we do know is that He Himself has said, according to those sayings, that Allah wants to see me killed, finished. Now yesterday, I explained, when Allah wants something like this, it's not that He primarily wants this, but the situation, the circumstances have become such that Allah wants Islam on one hand to not go down the drain. On the other hand, the only way to preserve this message of Islam is what? Is through something like this happening. The people didn't do what they were supposed to during Imam Ali's time, after the Prophet passed away in Saqifa and all that stuff. The people didn't do what they were supposed to do during Umar's time, Abu Uthman's time, Imam Ali's time, Imam Hassan's time. Okay, well, what are we left with? We're left with one of the 5 most important, most significant, most spiritual beings of all time, the last of the 5, which is Imam Hussein alayhi salam. The Prophet is gone, Sayyidah Fatima is gone, Imam Ali, Imam Hassan, they're not alive anymore. Only Imam Hussein is left. Okay, well, someone has to expose the tyranny. Someone needs to expose the malicious intentions of Banu Umayyah. Who's going to do that? Well, there's only one person left. There is no other way. It has to happen with blood now, because it didn't happen without blood before this when it was supposed to. So now the situation is such that Imam Hussein has to be killed. There's no other way to expose these people. Okay? Trust me, if Imam Hussein had not done what he did, Imam Sajjad onwards, they're not as significant in the eyes of non-Shia. They're not as significant as those 5. All of the members of the cloak, Ashabul Kisa, yeah, those 5 are revered very highly. The Holy Prophet, Sayyidah Fatima, Imam Ali, Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein, yeah, these are revered differently than the rest. Of course, non-Shia respect Imam al-Sajjad, they respect Imam al-Baqir, but they're not one of those 5. If anything was going to happen to take down this notion of Bani Umayyah are not bad people, they're not problematic, it was going to be Imam Hussein. If Imam Hussein doesn't do it, we're going to have major issues. Islam might not survive. So Allah wants and wishes for Imam Hussein to be killed, not primarily, but because as there being no other choice except this. Right? So we talked about that. This was Allah's will that Karbala happens when we live up to what Allah has willed, good things happen. This is what I talked about yesterday. Now, they don't want what Imam Hussein did, they don't want that from us now. They don't want us to go through what Imam Hussein necessarily went through. For you and I, it's just to live up to the normal commands of Islam. Yes, there's ups and downs. Yes, life gets hard sometimes. But all in all, he did what he did, so we can do what we need to do. But then it's unfortunate that as Shia, sometimes, yes, we are not as adherent to the faith, to the religion as we're supposed to. And we don't understand. This is exactly what Imam Hussein did, what he did for, is so that we're able to, in the future, come and still be able to benefit from the teachings of Islam and live normal religious lives. Yeah. So when we live up to what Allah wants from us, good things happen. Now sometimes Allah wants something normal from me and you. All right, something normal will be the result and outcome of me living up to what Allah wanted from me. Sometimes Allah wants something huge from me, like Imam Hussein's case. When I live up to that, then of course the result and outcome is going to be exponentially greater. Yeah, we need to understand. This is a rule that we have. أَفْضَلُ الْأَعْمَالِ أَحْمَزُهَا, that the greatest of deeds is the hardest one that Allah wants from you. The harder the deed, yeah, the greater the outcome is going to be, the greater the reward is going to be, the more eternal it'll be if I live up to what Allah wants from me. Okay, so these are just a review of what we talked about yesterday. So that was the first element. The second element I want to speak about that we might be able to take inspiration from, inshallah, when it comes to our own lives and our own deeds and actions, is that I think personally Imam Hussein alayhi salam's movement has this element of eternity to it as a result of the ikhlas that's in it. Khalisan liwajhillah. Okay? Purely, and with a totally refined intention of doing this for Allah and Allah alone. Now, it's obvious how this is going to relate to us as well, but I want to give you some examples before we talk about that. For example, the Quran talks about Masjid Dirar. Has anyone heard of that? Inshallah, we've heard of this Masjid Dirar. Yes? The Quran talks about it. what happened was, they say when the Prophet was migrating from Mecca to Medina, and he had with him the first Khalifa, when they reached the outskirts of Medina, the Prophet says, I'm not going to enter till Ali comes as well. So they were there for quite a while waiting for him. And some people were complaining that, oh Rasulullah, Ali will come, let's go. He says, no, we're going to wait for him to come. Because as we all know, when the Prophet left Mecca, he entrusted Imam Ali with a lot of tasks and chores that he had to take care of before coming and joining him in Medina. And so the Prophet, it looks like he can only trust one person who won't run away, won't be scared, yes, and gives him the responsibilities of taking care of things after he has left. Okay? Now it's interesting. Okay, I have to say this on the side now. Parentheses, let me open a parentheses, okay? It's interesting because from what I've read before, this Ibn Taymiyyah, the one that's a staunch enemy of Shi'ism, from 500, 600, 700 years ago, he says that, well, it wasn't a big deal that the Prophet left Imam Ali alayhi salam to sleep in his place when he was migrating. It's not that big a deal. Why? Because the Prophet had told Ali alayhi salam that, look, once these days are over, like, I want you to do this, this, and this as well. So Imam Ali knew from what the Prophet had told him that he's going to survive this whole sleeping in the bed of the Prophet episode. Yes, maybe 40 people are going to come around him with a sword drawn, thinking that the Prophet is sleeping here, and they want to cut him to pieces at nighttime. There is a chance, but the Prophet has said, I'm going to survive this episode. Since the Prophet had told Imam Ali that he's going to survive, it's not a big deal, you, O Shia, this big deal that you make that, see, he courageously and fearlessly slept in the place of the Prophet, yeah, and wasn't worried at all, because he was given the promise that he's going to survive. Yeah? So, O Shia, what's your answer to that? Should I let you think about it, not give an answer that I think? Or, yeah, we need to think about these things. There are answers though. All right, I'll say what I think. I don't want people leaving here with questions in their mind. Let us assume that that is the case, that the Prophet told him, yes, that and promised him. The fact that the Prophet is promising Imam Ali alayhi salam and has chosen him and not any other companion to sleep in their place shows that he sees a yaqeen and a conviction in Imam Ali that, okay, if I promise this guy that nothing's going to happen to him, he's going to stay put and he's not going to run. Because people run when they have a fear, even if they know they're going to survive. The fact that Ali alayhi salam says, okay, O Prophet, you promised me, I take your word as the reality of things, as haqiqah. Just this itself shows how much conviction Imam Ali had. Others didn't have this conviction. Others would question the Prophet. I don't want to get into those stories. There's a lot of stories that we can mention in this regard. Anyway, let's close that parenthesis now. Even if it's the case that Imam Ali was 100% sure that the Prophet told him he's going to survive, still it takes conviction. You have to actually believe this is Rasulullah and what he says is true. Someone else might also believe in Rasulullah, but when the Prophet promises him and he says, look, there's going to be 40 swords over you, about to cut you to pieces, and they, right when they want to kill you, they might see, they'll see that it's not me, and they'll stop and they won't kill you. Do you think that person's going to lie down there and fall asleep easily? No, of course not. So this itself is it's a medal of honor for Imam Ali just because he knows he's going to survive. Doesn't take away from that. Anyway, parentheses closed, brothers and sisters. Let's go back to that masjid though. The masjid, Imam Ali, they're waiting for him to come. And so Imam Ali eventually arrives from Mecca also to Medina and joins and reunites with the Prophet ﷺ, and then they go into Medina together. There's a masjid that they built there, Masjid Quba. Yeah, those of you who've been to Mecca, probably in Mecca, Medina, have seen this. And that masjid is there till today. But guess what? A few years later, another masjid was built close to that masjid. This masjid was serving as a place for the enemies of Islam though. It was a masjid of dirar, which means to harm, to harm. So they had built another masjid now. And they said that this is for the believers. But in reality, it was serving the interests of the disbelievers. And they were spying on the disbelievers. And they were trying to set some things up and conspire against the believers there. They told the Prophet, "O Prophet, please come and pray in this masjid." The Prophet said, "I'm going out to a battle. When I come back, inshallah." When he came back though, the verse of the Quran said, No. Don't pray here. This is a base for the enemies of Islam. Actually exposed them. They destroyed the masjid. There's nothing left of it there. Masjid Quba, on one hand, is there. It was built with ikhlas. Masjid Dirar was not built for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It was burnt down to the ground. This is one example of how far ikhlas goes. Till today, that masjid is still there, but the other one, the bad one, is gone. No one knows what happened to it, where it is, where it was exactly. Yeah. Now, shall I open another parenthesis? Because you insist, I shall. Let me open another parenthesis here. This Masjid Dirar title, okay? Now, I don't think most of you throw this term around too much, okay? But what I've observed here and there sometimes, when there are different centers out here in the West even, that there's a center that's doing things a little differently than another center. A center that might make a mistake and might, have certain people that we're not okay with, and etc., okay? The moment sometimes I've noticed people see that there's a center that's not doing things exactly the way we think they should be done, right away you find them throwing this label and title at that center. Oh, this center, it's a Masjid Dirar. Ha 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 ha. This is a Masjid Dirar? Wait a minute. At the end of the day, none of us are infallible. None of us have immaculate knowledge, brothers and sisters. And so we're all trying our best. Yeah, sometimes someone actually has a malicious intent to destroy the deen. That's a different question. But usually that's not the case. If not ever. They all make mistakes though. I might disagree with the way you do it. Doesn't mean now I turn around and just point my finger at you and say, "Oh, you are an example of Masjid Dirar, the same one that was during the Prophet's time." Excuse me, how are you going to answer Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the Day of Judgment when they tell you that these people were trying their best too? They were mistaken. You also had some mistakes in the way your approach was. I can disagree with you. We can discuss. I can try to convince you. This is wrong, that's wrong. Look, this is what I think. This is what our scholars are saying. But at the end of the day, I can't be like, "Yeah, you're Masjid Dirar." Because you know what that means? That means I'm on the side of Rasulullah. How do you know? We're all trying our best. There's no guarantee. We're trying our best to live by the standards that Ahlul Bayt have given us. And there will be differences of opinion all the way till our Maraji'. Maraji', they all have the same fatwa. No, they have different fatwas and opinions on things too. At the end of the day, it's us and the literature. We're trying our best. But to put something like this, a label like this, should not be taken lightly. Masjid Dirar. Do you know why we can't label each other as such? Look at what this masjid was all about. Let me read the verse. This is Surah Tawbah, verse 107. It says, وَالَّذِينَ اتَّخَذُوا مَسْجِدًا دِرَارًا وَكُفْرًا وَتَفْرِيقًا بَيْنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Three things it says about this masjid, okay? It says that, a fourth thing. إِرْصَادًا لِمَنْ حَارَبَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ مِنْ قَبْلَهُ. Yes, وَلَا يَحْلِفُونَ إِنْ أَرَدْنَا إِلَّا الْحُسْنَى وَاللَّهُ يَشْهَدُ إِنَّهُمْ لَكَاذِبُونَ. As for those who took to a mosque for sabotage, for defiance, to cause division amongst the faithful, and for the purpose of ambush. So 4 things here we have. By those who have fought Allah and His Apostle before, they will surely swear we desired nothing but good, but Allah bears witness that they are lying. Okay, 4 things, brothers and sisters. If I want to call a masjid, Masjid Dirar, these 4 boxes have to be checked. This place should be a place of sabotage and defiance and causing division amongst the people, amongst the believers, and for the purpose of ambushing the believers eventually. We don't have something like that anymore. These titles sometimes are thrown around very easily, but they have grave consequences in Yawm al-Qiyamah. Oh, this person is like Muawiyah. Excuse me. This person is a Shia, Ithna Ashari, trying their best. They make mistakes, maybe okay. They're stubborn though. They don't accept from me because you're not a ma'soom, Habib. Yeah? You've tried your best to convince them. They're not convinced. Finished. Okay, we'll try our best. Inshallah, the point is clear that I'm trying to make here. This is just on the side. This ikhlas, parenthesis closed. This ikhlas and doing things for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is what gives eternity to things. I'll give you another example of this ikhlas, and then I want to talk about ourselves a little bit too, okay? And then we'll go to some hadiths as well. And that's the story that's mentioned in Surah Al-Insan. Do we know Surah Al-Insan? Which surah that is? Yeah? Surah Al-Insan, I think in about 18 verses of it, it talks about a story. Doesn't mention names though, but it's a story. That there are some who give their food in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the yatim and miskin and asira, all these three types of people. Yeah. The story goes like this for those of you who might not know, the younger ones. I know this is a very famous story, most of us know it. But that the fact that the story goes like this, that Imam al-Hasan and Imam Hussein were sick and ill, and Imam Ali, Imam Sayyidah Fatima, they made a nadhr, a pledge to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that if they get better, we will fast for 3 days. And so they got better, they wanted to fulfill this pledge to Allah, and so they're fasting, and so now there's different opinions on if this happened on one night or 3 consecutive nights. All in all, brothers and sisters, you and I know when we're fasting, when it's iftar time, what do we want to do? It ain't pray, right? Although we know there's a lot of thawab in praying first, and so we will pray first, inshaAllah. But all in all, the heart is somewhere else, you know what I'm saying? So, these Ahlul Bayt that were fasting, yes, they gave their iftar because they got a knock at the door from a person who was a asir, a prisoner of war. They also got a knock on the door from a yatim, an orphan, and a poor person, asking for help, asking for food. They gave their iftar to that person, and they weren't able to break their iftar with solid food, they say. All right, now this story, brothers and sisters, this is like the most important point in these verses. They said, "Innama nut'imukum liwajhillah," that we're giving this food away. Now it's interesting. Although we want it even. We're hungry. We want to eat this food. Yeah? وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ. They're giving this food while they love the food themselves. They're pulled towards it. They want this food. They're a human being at the end of the day. Yeah? عَلَى حُبِّهِ. Tabatabai and these ones, these great mufassirin of Quran have said this, عَلَى حُبِّهِ is talking about the food. That they're doing this although they have a strong desire to have the food themselves. They give it in the way of Allah, and they say, إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ. That verily, the only reason we're giving this is for wajhullah, for Allah's pleasure. That's it. I don't want anything else. لَا نُرِيدُ مِنْكُمْ جَزَاءً وَلَا شُكُورًا. We don't need you to thank us. We don't need you to say thank you or anything like that. Gratefulness, nothing. We're doing this only for Allah's pleasure. Now here, some of our scholars have pointed something nice out. They've said, this story, if the Quran had not mentioned it to us, it would have never reached us. Think about it. In this selfie era that we're in, right? I mean, if I'm fasting for 2-3 days and I'm giving my iftar to people, bro, I'm going to make sure it's worth it. So when that poor person knocks on my house, I'll be like, hey, yo, I was waiting for you. Come inside. Here's some food. And let's take a selfie. Make sure I post it on social media so the world knows that I gave in the way of Allah, by the way. In the way of Allah. And I'll put that in the caption, when you give in the way of Allah. Okay? These scholars, they're saying that if it wasn't for the Quran, we wouldn't have known that this story even happened. That's how much of a secret they were keeping it. But Allah chose to let us know. But what is the reason for all of this? Because of the amount of ikhlas, sincerity, only doing it for Allah, such a refined intention that Allah said, you know what? I'm going to let everybody know that this actually happened. Let others know what ikhlas looks like. Until today, yes, we all know that this story happened. Yeah, I refer to this surah, actually Surah Al-Insan, I refer to it as a Shia surah. You know why? Because who are we kidding? Us as Shia, we need to work a little harder when it comes to understanding the Quran and learning the Quran. Usually we've gone towards Ahlul Bayt a lot. But there are some surahs, because they serve our interests as Shia, we will remember them. Surah Al-Insan is one of them. I call it a Shia surah. Why? Because in it has a story about Ahlul Bayt. Yeah? Or verses of the Quran. Some of those we remember for sure. إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ. Yeah, why? Because it serves my purpose as a Shia. I'm not saying it's a bad thing necessarily, but guess what? The whole Quran is actually for us, inshallah, for us as Muslims. So, inshallah, we work harder in that regard. Anyway, ikhlas, brothers and sisters, the more you try to not do it for the people, if Allah chooses, the people will understand more how great that amal was. The more I try to hide things, sometimes Allah will show them more. I'm not after that. But Allah makes things eternal as a result of that khulus, that purity of the intention that I have. That's why I want to share with you a few hadiths here. I'll go through them pretty quickly. In regards to ikhlas and how important it is. Because you and I, brothers and sisters, we're trying our best, man. We do things, yeah? We try our best to do good deeds, to build our akhirah. The worst thing to do is to go on the other side and see that Allah says, hey, this good deed of yours, guess what? I gave it to so-and-so. I don't want it. You're like, why? I did it for you. Allah will say, you did it for me and someone else, and because I'm the best of partners, I give it all to the guy that you did half of it for. I'll share it all with them. That's how good I am. You know? It's kind of like, I don't like to use this example, but like, you know, when she takes off her ring and she throws it in the sea, she's like, he liked me and somebody else. And she throws it away. She says, I don't want him. You're like, but he wanted you too. She's like, yeah, me and somebody else. No, just me. Now, for us as human beings, there's a different reason for it. But for Allah, there's a different reason. Allah's not like that person who says, I want all your attention. He says, the only thing that can help you is if you connect yourself to me completely, because I can only give you something, not someone else. You went to somebody else, you've mixed up this pure water with a little bit of junk, and this isn't going to help you. You drink water when it's pure. You don't drink water when the water that I've sent to the other side, I don't want it to be adulterated with anything else, to be tainted with anything else. I want a pure water on the other side. Allah says, this is no good for you. But the moment I do something for somebody else, even though I have Allah in mind as well, this is why we have to be super careful. The last thing that I want to do is go on the other side and be like, I'm here. Where's my actions? And I look and all I see is trash. Why? Because there wasn't ikhlas there. It's part of the amal. So for example, the hadith say, أَفْضَلُ الْعَمَلِ مَا أُرِيدَ بِهِ وَجْهُ اللَّهِ. Only. The best of deeds is that which you only aim for wajhullah. Wajh means face, obviously. The face of Allah, the satisfaction of Allah, the pleasure of Allah. Allah Himself. That's it. It doesn't say anything else in there. No mixing. Now, when I'm 15, 16, it might be hard for me to do that. But I need to work from now so that when I'm 50, 60, I'm still not struggling with the same problem. There are 50, 60, 70-year-old children still out there because these basics haven't been worked on when we're younger. As we get older, we don't practice them, trying to do things for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I'm 50, 60 years old, I'm still doing this, and I'm thinking, oh, did so-and-so see? Did so-and-so hear about it? بِالْإِخْلَاصِ يَتَفَاضَلُ مَرَاتِبُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. It is only through how much ikhlas a mu'min, a believer has, that will set them higher or lower than other believers. That is the only measuring stick, it seems, when it comes to the actions, the good actions that we do. How much ikhlas is in there? This one's a scary one. تَصْفِيَةُ الْعَمَلِ أَشَدُّ مِنَ الْعَمَلِ. To make sure that you've purified your deed and you're doing it with the proper intention only for Allah is harder, this hadith says, than the action itself. Because at the end of the day, we are self-loving creatures. Even if I am not giving myself any pleasures in this life because I want to secure my afterlife, the fact that I'm thinking about my afterlife, you see the word my came into the equation again. It's me, it's all about me. We that's how we are, that's how Allah has created us. We are self-loving beings. It's perfectly fine. We just miss the mark when it comes to what we're supposed to want for ourselves. We're supposed to want infinity and eternity for ourselves, and then we look around in this world for things. Now, here it says, tasfiyatul amal, to make sure that you're doing an act for Allah is harder than the act itself because we are self-loving creatures. Even when I do a good deed, even when I'm giving the money away, and I'm putting something from my pocket out and I'm losing something, because I am that type of creature, I will like for others to see. So that what? so that somehow it rubs off on me again. The money is going, let some reputation come, at least, and be added to me, because I'm a self-loving creature. Yeah? Yeah, but if we're self-loving, really self-loving, we will only aim for akhirah. This dunya we will live in to the amount we need to, we aim for there. And so this hadith is saying, you better be careful, because this is how we are. The default in us is that in the end, I want something to come back to me in this life. While, yeah, you're supposed to get it for that side, ready for that side. You're supposed to do it for that side, so it gets very hard. And hence, it says, to make the amal pure of such intentions is harder than the amal itself. At the end of the day, man, I clean something up, I help my parents out, I give some money, all that. It's an action I do. It's not that hard. But to make sure that, I'm doing this, I don't want us to become OCD either, obviously. But to make sure that the reason I'm doing this isn't for recognition by others is going to be pretty hard, because that's just how we are. Al-amalul khalis. Do you want a sign of what a pure act is? A sign that you're doing it with ikhlas is الذي لا تريد أن يحمدك عليه أحد إلا الله عز وجل. The deed that you do, if you want a sign that you did this with ikhlas, is that you are not ready, you're not looking around to make sure anyone other than Allah is going to praise you for it. Very simple. These are very simple guidelines. Another, I want to say, thing that just came to mind now, I don't know if it's a hadith or one of these scholars was saying it, is that sometimes we idolize the act itself, and that self-gratification that we accomplish through it, achieve through it, that itself is why we're doing it, but we're not aware of that. I'll give you an example, and there's a sign for this. For example, I want to be the one who opens the doors to the center and turns the lights on and all of that. Okay, there's rewards in that stuff. Good act, mashallah. All right. Now there's somebody else that can do it better than me even, maybe. Right? But what happens is, I'm like, wait a minute, sir. I've been doing this for a long time. Yeah? And it becomes an issue now. If someone else is there to do it, then I'll give you another example. President. I want to be president. I want to help out. I want to do this. And then someone else wants to be president. Baba, let them be. Who cares about these positions and worldly stations that we have? These maraja, brothers and sisters, maraja taqleed is a big thing. To be a maraja taqleed, an authority Islamically, is a big thing. And so you would think that this is something good, and it is good. But what if there's like 10 other ones already there? 10 maraja already there. And then they come and knock on my door as number 11. Hey, we would like you to also be a maraja taqleed. Now here, a person like Amin Rustani is going to be like, yes, I have this feeling that Islam needs me. But a person who has some ikhlas will understand that, bro, the others are taking care of this. You go take care of your own life. Don't worry about the rest. Some people, they idolize the amal itself to the point where it's as if you're doing the amal for the sake of the amal. You're doing it for the sake of Allah. Someone else is taking care of it. Let them take care of it. Yeah? We have to be, this is how shaitan gets us sometimes. Now, the basic ones like me, he'll get them with easier stuff. But I'm talking about those of you who are really good. Yeah? Sometimes you'll reach a point where, yeah, you have to be careful about these things. Am I idolizing the amal itself? Like everyone, there's 40 people in a bus going for ziyarah of one of the imams. And then now Salat al-Dhuhr comes. The time for Salat al-Dhuhr comes. Someone out of these 40, is it a bird, is it a plane? No, it's super religious man. He says, stop the bus. You're like, what happened? I must pray right now. You're like, Habibi, like, we're 20 minutes away. If they stop the bus, it's hot, the children are crying. No. Allah is waiting for me. No one's waiting for you. 20 minutes wait. Do you think all of your spirituality depends on this? Yeah, if you can pray. The default is we pray in waqt al-fadila, in the best time that we can. Obviously, there's no doubt about that. Sometimes, though we live in a physical world, a world of cause and effect, sometimes the situation doesn't allow for that. The bus driver says, wait 20 minutes please, we're going to get to the destination. If I stop now, people want to get off. We're going to fall behind by 2 hours. This guy thinks that if he doesn't pray right now, Qiyamah is going to start. Like Yawmul Qiyamah is going to set in because, Allah is upset that His most beloved servant didn't speak to him at the right time. No, so the point I'm trying to make is this person has idolized this amal itself to the point where it's as if this amal is going to get you somewhere. No, Allah is going to get you somewhere. In this situation, I think Allah understands that we have to continue with our trip and get there. And this is not the default, this is the exception, obviously, I'm saying. أخلص قلبك يكفيك القليل من العمل. This one's nice. It says, look, purify, clean up, refine your intention, your heart when you're doing something. A little bit of deed is going to be enough for you. يكفيك. بكفه, as you guys say. يكفيك. It will be enough for you. And so here we are once again thinking that the deed has to be so great. Yeah, the deeds should be great. Why not? But we have to understand the active ingredient in these deeds is these things. To the point, someone does the greatest of all deeds, the biggest of all deeds. Not everyone can do it, but it's not as accepted as the one who does a normal deed and doesn't have the means for more, but does it with this much ikhlas. أخلصوا إذا عملتم وأعملوا إذا علمتم لا تهتموا لقلة العمل واهتموا للقبول. لا تهتموا. Don't worry about how small the deed is. Once again, it says واهتموا بالقبول. Try to make sure that the amal is accepted. That's what we're after. Don't look at the quantity. In other words, look at the quality. And that's what it's all about. Yeah. So these are some hadiths about ikhlas and having ikhlas in what we do, brothers and sisters. Now, I personally think that Abu Abdullah Hussein alayhi salam had the most ikhlas. Why? Because look, sometimes you give your wealth, sometimes you spend time, you give your time, you give your energy. Sometimes you skip chest day. Okay? Have you seen those memes? She said, skip chest day, now we're not together anymore. Those memes. Sometimes you do these things. Sometimes it's your life. At the end of the day, if I have billions and billions and billions, but now my life is about to go, what does that mean for me anymore? I will do everything to preserve my life. And so if I put my life before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and say, here, take it, and take the life of whoever else, of my loved ones that you want, etc., etc., and those who are going to survive me, do whatever you think is befitting for the cause regarding them, this is ikhlas at the highest level. Because the ikhlas was so great, then this amal is going to be eternal as well. So that's number 2 on our list. Now you guys are thinking it's going to take us 10 nights to cover all of these. No, inshallah, in the future days, we'll go through these quicker, inshallah. There's a few more left. Some of them apply to us, some of them don't apply to us. Actually, they apply only to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Of why Imam Hussein has become so eternal. I want to end on this note though, with this ikhlas. Brothers and sisters, please, we have to understand, and I speak to myself first and foremost, we have to be very vigilant about our intentions. Especially those of us who are getting a little bit older. The younger ones, you guys make mistakes, all that, it's all good. I'm one of you guys, the younger ones. We make these mistakes sometimes. It's fine that we will do things for others. You guys have probably heard the story. There was this guy who was praying and all that, praying very nicely, and there were some others watching him like, man, look at this guy, look at his prayer. Does such a nice prayer, this, that. And he overheard them when they were praising him. And he just couldn't hold it anymore. He was like, he stopped in the middle of his prayer. He was like, by the way, I'm fasting too. Say Ismallah. Right? So, for us, when we're younger, sometimes, these things come up and all of that. It's fine. We have to work on ourselves. But those of us who are now getting a little bit older, there's a less flexibility when it comes to these things. Why should I be, let's say, I don't know. I don't have anyone particular in mind or anything, but like fighting over the mic. Fighting over who's going to say this, who's going to do that, this latmiya, I don't know. Who's going to install that banner and whose name is going to be here, who's going to do that. None of these things matter. If someone else is taking care of it, I'm here if you need me. if you don't need me, I'm not going to be a burden. I got enough to do for my own akhirah. I'll take care of myself. It just reaches a point where we sometimes are not careful. And the amal, this is my line that I want to end with, that I've said again and again. The amal becomes the ends and it is not the means. The amal is idolized to the point where we're doing the amal for the sake of the amal. And this is not going to make anything eternal, brothers and sisters. Inshallah, we learn from the likes of Imam Hussein alayhi salam when it comes to our own personal lives. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآل محمد.
ثانية على حب الزهراء.
أفلح من أعاد الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد. محمد وآل محمد. Sisters and brothers, we'll be beginning the majlis portion of the night. Again, just one more salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
ثانية على حب الزهراء صلى الله على محمد وآل محمد.
صلي على محمد وآل محمد.
ثالثة لتعجيل فرج مولانا صاحب العصر والزمان صلى الله على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So everybody's doing good. Again, just a reminder before we begin into the majalis to have very strong intentions when we join the caravan of Hussein towards Karbala, and it's time inshallah to shed tears and to have strong intentions to change, to use these tears inshallah to lead to change. Not crying just for the sake of crying and seeking for forgiveness only, inshallah for these tears to soften our hearts and lead to that change. Some of our ulama advise us that, and they tell us that sometimes tears are blocked because of excessive sinning. This could be one reason why people have a harder time shedding tears. Not the only reason, not to alarm anybody. But they say before you start the majalis of Abu Abdullah Hussein, try to turn back to Allah in this moment right now. Take 10 seconds with a salawat, do a few istighfar before you enter into the majalis. Inshallah, this will help soften the heart. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Our ulama also advise us that crying for Abu Abdullah, it's as if you're turning back to Allah. If you're looking for an apology to turn back to Allah and asking for forgiveness, one of those ways is crying for Imam al-Hussein. But you don't make an apology to somebody without trying to change actions, right? If you wrong somebody and you ask them for forgiveness, you want to supplement that with change. So you want to cry for Abu Abdullah and the tragedy in Ashura with that change. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. أعوذ بالله بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله. صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله. صلى الله عليكم يا أهل بيت النبوة وموضع الرسالة ومختلف الملائكة. May Allah's peace and blessings be upon you, our beloved Holy Prophet, and the Ahlul Bayt. It was in your homes that Allah blessed us with guidance and revelation, and upon you descend the angels day in and day out. Everybody together, Ya Habibi, Ya Hussein, Nur Aini, Ya Hussein, Ya Habibi, Ya Hussein, Nur Aini, Ya Hussein. يا رحمة الله الواسعة يا حسين. Our beloved Hussein, light of our eyes Hussein, O mercy of Allah Hussein. Tonight is the night dedicated to the departure of Imam al-Hussein from Medina, the city of his grandfather Rasulullah. May Allah help Imam al-Hussein's heart. These are the last moments. What would someone do in their last moments, leaving a city for the last time? Imagine Abu Abdullah bidding farewells to his mother Sayyidah Zahra, weeping down at her grave. Brothers and sisters, think of a young child who has not seen his mother for hours. The mother walks through the door. What does that child do? The child runs and starts tripping and falling, trying to get to the mother as fast as possible. They say that when Imam al-Hussein went to the grave of Sayyidah Zahra, he was stumbling, he was tripping, he was collapsing upon her grave. What would he say to her? Ummah, Ummah, I'm leaving Medina now, I'm traveling to Karbala. You're not with me, my father Ali isn't with me, my brother Hassan isn't with me, I'm all alone. He thought for a moment that his mother would leave him, but no, Ya Aba Abdullah, this is the heart of a mother. We tell you, Ya Aba Abdullah, not only was she present with you in Karbala, she's present in every majlis that is recited on your behalf. Ya Aba Abdullah, at least you had Zainab for a little longer. After the Imam bids farewell to Sayyidah Fatima, it is said he goes to the grave of Rasulullah, stands next to the grave with a longing feeling and says, Ya Allah, this is the grave of your messenger Muhammad, and I am his grandson, and you are aware of what has happened to me. It is said he falls asleep on the grave of Rasulullah. The narrations say Imam al-Hussein dreamt that Rasulullah, along with the angels surrounding him, approached him and kissed him on his forehead. Rasulullah then says, Habibi ya Hussein, my beloved Hussein, I see you slaughtered on the land of Karbala by a group of my ummah, and you are thirsty and forbidden from a single drop of water. They wish for my intercession, but by Allah they will not have it, Ya Abu Abdullah. In the dream, Imam al-Hussein gazed at his grandfather Rasulullah and said, Ya Jadda, I don't wish to return to this dunya. Take me with you, put me in the grave with you. ضمني عندك يا جده في هذا الضريح علاني يا جد من بلوى الزمان يستريح ضاق بي يا جد من فرط الأسى كل الفسيح فعسى تمر عسايا ينك بين النكتين. When the morning came, Imam al-Hussein prepared his family and himself to go to Karbala, to go to Iraq. He says goodbye to all those who stayed there along with his daughter Fatima al-Alila, who was sick and not able to travel with them. He left her with the Prophet's wife Salama. Imagine the Imam leaving his daughter behind. Our poets bring her feelings and words to life. How shall I enter our home without you? I swear to my grandfather that I have no patience without you. My father, you have left me without you to see. Who shall I find comfort in, and who will care for me? Then the saddened caravan went on while she went from horse to horse, crying and pleading. So Salama held her tight and took her back to the house. And it was said that she sat in front of the house, waiting for a response from her father. She looked around her, she saw the corners and thought of the memories and longing for her family. The Imam then heard a quiet voice saying, my father, don't leave me. Take me with you. He tried to calm her down and explain to her that her health would not permit her to travel the long distance. Imagine the Imam, the perfect human, the epitome of kindness and compassion. He knows he will not return and yet has to say goodbye to his daughter. Imagine Fatima al-Alila, a little girl sick, and her father and family leaving her. If you knew where this caravan was heading, what will happen to them, young Fatima? Your sadness and tears would not end. This reminds me of the children that are oppressed all around the world, specifically in Palestine. There are children that see their parents leaving and not returning. There are children that see their parents have to go and never come back. Listen to the words of poetry depicting the daughter of Abu Abdullah, expressing, you take all the children, you take all the women, so why did you leave me and leave my heart broken? You leave me alone here, you leave me with my tears and leave my heart broken. I wake up to find you have left, oh Father. My tears drip down and they flow like a river. Please come back, I ask you by our Creator. I have never been away from you ever. I miss your sad, thank you so, son of Haida. And my my name is the sweet name of your mother. You've given me this name, and you I don't blame. Your mother, she loved you, and my love is the same. Your words I want to hear, you leave me with my tears, and leave my heart broken. I stand and wait at my door for your return. You left me, but took all the other children. With every passing day, I feel my heart burn. I long to kiss you, your warmth is what I yearn. You were my rose, my flower and vision. My father, I cry to you. I cry when Shimon over your neck stands tall. I shed tears when Zainab cries in Yazid's hall. I cry when the arrows make my brother's blood flow. They take Hussein away and leave me with his shadow. Everybody together. Wa Husayna وغريبا يا حسينا سلام من قلوب أنت فيها يا حسينا لك الأرواح طرا نفتديها يا حسينا peace be upon you from all the hearts you are in يا حسينا peace be upon you from all the hearts that you are in إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون وسيعلم الذين ظلموا على بيت محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم Ya Allah, in the name of Hussein, by the right of Hussein, by the thirst of Hussein, Ya Allah, we ask you to forgive our sins. We ask you to allow us to shed tears and make a change through these majalis. We ask you to give us a good end on the path of truth. We ask you to fill our hearts with the love of Muhammad and the family of Muhammad. We ask you to cure our sick ones and forgive our deceased, Ya Allah. We ask you to bring victory and relief to all the oppressed around the world, specifically those in Palestine, Ya Allah. We ask you to hasten the return of our Imam Sahib al-Asri wal-Zaman and to make us amongst his loyal supporters, Ya Allah. برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين. ثانية على حب الزهراء صلى الله على محمد وآل محمد. Inshallah, if we can all stand for Latmiya with one more salawat ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. حسين ثار الله أبا عبد الله حسين ثار الله أبا عبد الله حسين ثار الله أبا عبد الله حسين ثار الله أبا عبد الله. Once again I will start my walk to you, oh my Hussein. Karbala, Karbala to you, oh my Hussein. Karbala, Karbala, oh. Once again I will start my walk to you, oh my Hussein. Karbala, Karbala to you, oh my Hussein. Karbala, Karbala, oh, oh. My love rises every step I take. My love rises every step I take. Inshallah I will make where Zahra waits. Hussein Thar Allah. My love rises every step I take. Inshallah I will make where Zahra waits. Hussein Thar Allah. Hussein Thar Allah. Aba Abdillah. 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 With my heart I will call your name, I will die calling you. Ya Hussein, I will rise when I call. Ya Hussein, oh, oh. Once again I will start my walk to you, oh my Hussein. Karbala, Karbala to you, oh my Hussein. Karbala, Karbala, oh. I see your flag flying in the sky. I see your flag flying in the sky until the day I die. I will rise it high, Hussein Thar Allah. I see your flag flying in the sky. I see your flag flying in the sky until the day I die. I will rise it high, Hussein Thar Allah. Hussein Thar Allah. Aba Abdillah. 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 صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. زيارة وارث. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا وارث آدم صفوة الله. السلام عليك يا وارث نوح النبي الله. السلام عليك يا وارث إبراهيم خليل الله. السلام عليك يا وارث موسى كليم الله. السلام عليك يا وارث عيسى روح الله. السلام عليك يا وارث محمد حبيب الله. السلام عليك يا وارث أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام. السلام عليك يا ابن محمد المصطفى. السلام عليك يا ابن علي المرتضى. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء. السلام عليك يا ابن خديجة الكبرى. السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموت. أشهد أنك من دعائم الدين. أشهد أنك قد أقمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف ونهيت عن المنكر وأطعت الله ورسوله حتى أتاك اليقين. فلعن الله أمة قتلت، ولعن الله أمة ظلمت، ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، أشهد أنك كنت نورا في الأصلاب الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة لم تنجسك الجاهلية بأنجاسها ولم تلمسك من مدلهمات ثيابها، وأشهد أنك من دعائم الدين وأركان المؤمنين، وأشهد أنك الإمام البر التقي الرضي الزكي الهادي المهدي، وأشهد أن الأئمة من ولدك كلمة التقوى وأعلام الهدى والعروة الوثقى والحجة على أهل الدنيا، وأشهد الله وملائكته وأنبياءه ورسله أني بكم مؤمن وبإيابكم موقن بشرائع ديني وخواتيم عملي، وقلبي لقلبكم سلم وأمري لأمركم متبع. صلوات الله عليكم وعلى أرواحكم وعلى أجسادكم وعلى أجسامكم وعلى شاهدكم وعلى غائبكم وعلى ظاهركم وعلى باطنكم. بأبي أنت وأمي يا ابن رسول الله، بأبي أنت وأمي يا أبا عبد الله، لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل السماوات والأرض، فلعن الله أمة أسرجت وألجمت وتهيأت لقتالك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله. قصدت حرمك وأتيت إلى مشهدك، أسأل الله بالشأن الذي لك عنده وبالمحل الذي لك لديه أن يصلي على محمد وآل محمد، وأن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة جميعا. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين وعلى أبي الفضل العباس وعلى الحوراء زينب وعلى محمد وآل الطاهرين ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين. Alhamdulillah jami'an, inshallah we give everything that we recited in this gathering tonight on behalf of all the mu'mineen and the mu'minat and the deceased, and for the sick, and for the victory of the oppressed all around the world, and for the hastening of Sahab al-Asri wa Zaman. Wa the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.